Hey, 大家好，我叫石老师. Welcome to our 2-2 tone pairs how-to video. This is the second video in a series of 4 talking about how we should be pronouncing tones and focusing on that in pairs, which if you didn't know is the best way to do it. Now, for each of these videos, we will have the same structure. We will first learn some example words with the 2-2 tone pair. In that section, I'll do some explaining about interesting things to pay attention to, resetting your voice, etc. And then we'll start looking at these and practicing them in the context of sentences. Just like with vocab, learning tones in a vacuum is not helpful. Now, our first word, 学习, 学习. As always, if you aren't pronouncing, restart and start pronouncing. 学习. I want you to notice something here. The second tone goes from the bottom of our register up to the top, right? 学. So what do we do when we have 2 second tones? That's kind of a bit strange, right? And then we have to do that again. Well, what many non-native speakers will do is go kind of like this. 学习 or 学习. They'll just kind of do a first tone because they're not really sure what to do with their voice. This is where a tool called resetting comes in. Whenever we have to change rapidly where in our register we're starting or ending a pronunciation, we are going to basically cut all sound off, like completely, and try to forcibly move our vocal cords to the spot where we need to be to pronounce the next syllable. In this case, we're starting low, ending high, so we need to drop our register back down, or rather drop our voice back down to the bottom of our register. 学习 学 again, drop 习. This will require you to stop pronouncing, to stop releasing sound in between syllables. At first, you're going to have to do this slowly because there's no way to do that quickly if you haven't trained your voice. But once you've practiced and gotten that down, perhaps in our practice videos, you will get more comfortable with that and it will become easier. Our next word, 回来 回来 同学 同学 And notice also, the tone is more or less the same between both pronunciations. This isn't like a fixed rule. If you're like 同学, or I do that naturally, damn, 同学, right? I went a little higher on the second one, that's okay. No Mandarin speaker is going to be like, whoa, what was that? They'll know what you're saying. 同学 平常 平常 And lastly, 回答 回答 Now let's hop into some sentences and get to see how this works out in context. As described in the first 1-1 tone pair video, I'm going to run by these syllable by syllable, kind of like this, and then focus only on the entry or exit to our focal point, which will be our vocab words. There will be other strange things happening, tone sandies where 2-3 tones change, or like a boo changes from a rising to a falling. That is not our focus for this video, so I will not be talking about those, but I will be pronouncing everything as it should be pronounced by a native speaker. Let's start. 我不要学习 要学习 Okay, we're starting off with one of the easiest entrances into the double pair. The reason for this, 要, the fourth tone starts high, ends low. In fact, it ends right about where our second tone starts, which means we get to do this nice big valley. 要学 要学 Try that. It's really, really, really smooth, really even, really easy for the voice. This is one of the easiest entrances into the 2-2 pair that we can possibly do. 要学, really natural, no resetting. You don't have to close your chords or anything, you just go. Let's look at another. 我明天学习中文。天学习中。Now this entrance is a little harder. We are having to do a complete reset of our voice so that we can pronounce this rise properly. Tian ends at the top of our register. We have to go down to the very bottom to pronounce 学 correctly. And this is where many English speakers will do something like this. 天学习, because their voice doesn't know how to stop and restart. And this is where that resetting really, really comes in. 天 cut, reset. 学, you're going to have to make a mental effort of this at first until your voice starts doing this naturally. 天学习中. However, this bit at the end is awesome. It's super natural. 习中. The xi, that rise, ends right where the first tone starts, and then we can just run with it. 学习中文. And we see that right there. 中文, like 天学. That reset can be pretty challenging, but I have faith you guys can get it. 我明天学习中文. Let's look at another. 你什么时候回来？后回来. This is that first thing we saw at the beginning. Super, super nice. Fall rise. 后回来. Nice and simple. 他回来韩国了。他回来韩. Okay, these super runs are some of the hardest things to do in Mandarin in general when it's a bunch of second tones or a bunch of falling tones. So first let's look again at that 他回, complete vocal reset, right? Now here's the thing, just like we have to do between 2 2 tones, we have to do the same between 3 2 tones, right? 回, reset. 来, reset. 韩, reset. 国. This is going to feel super unnatural at first, but it is absolutely worth taking the time to practice because it comes up all the time in Mandarin. I don't know what else to say. 他回来韩国了。他回来韩国了。Eventually you'll be able to do that. Give it some time. 我的同学很聪明。的同学很。There's another video we'll do on how to do the blank tones. There will be a video link in the description if there's not yet. Give us some time. Exiting into that 很, 同学很. This one's a little bit tricky. A lot of English speakers have a tendency to go 学很. The problem is that sounds like a fourth tone. The reason that sounds like a fourth tone is because the fourth tone starts where the second tone stops. So if you roll your voice out of that, it is going to sound to a Chinese speaker like a fourth tone. That sounds like a fourth tone. So what we have to do here is actually another reset. We have to go 同学很. It's a little reset. It's not quite as much as a 学, 同学, right? 学很. But it is a necessary reset. Do not roll from a second tone into a third tone. It will confuse a native speaker. 我的同学很聪明。我 平常3点吃饭。我平常3. Okay, this is one of my favorite tone pairs. This is where we learn something cool about how a third tone works when it is followed by a second tone. That 我. If you've learned Mandarin before, you've probably heard, okay, third tone is like It's half accurate. A lot of the time, the third tone kind of gets cut and turned into this little dip. It's just like a 我, and it stops there. Now, the nice thing with the second tone is we drop and then rise right into it, kind of like we do with a fourth tone. Just it's not as drastic, right? It's not 我平常. Start low. 我平常, sorry, 平常, reset. 我平常. This is what our Garrett Lauscher likes to refer to as a super third tone. The 3 drops and then immediately rises into the second tone as if it were one tone. 我平常. You don't have to do anything with your voice, really. And then again, exiting out of a second tone into a first tone is super nice. The second tone ends where the first tone starts. 长三. So nice on my voice. 我平常三. Our next one. 他不平常来这里。不平常来. Sorry, I shouldn't be dun. It's not like that. It's more 平常来. There we go. Again, that 不, falling tone into a second tone. We fall into the rise. It's really nice. 不平常. It's not stressful for our voice at all. 不平常. 平, reset. 常, reset. 来.他还没有回答我。有回答我。Also there you'll notice 还没 is another second tone pair, right? But we're going to focus on the 回答. So that supertone again, that third supertone. 有回答. And then again, here on the third, we cannot just roll down. It's not 有回答我. That will again possibly sound like a fourth tone to a native speaker. 有回答 reset 我回答我有回答我 And that's all we have for you. Please take the time to go through that. Actually write down some notes for yourself. Practice speaking. Try to get used to this. We have practice videos that can help you encourage and reinforce and really, really emphasize these tones in the form of just literally listen and repeat sentences. I think I've structured them pretty well. Those will be linked in the description if you want to check those out. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you feel like you learned something. And I'll see you again in the next video, 3 tone pairs. As always, 大家加油!